Welcome to NASCAR Report today. Please consider subscribing to our channel so that we can hit our goal and complete our family of 1,000 subscribers. Every crew chief in the Cup Series garage has been meticulously dissecting Kyle Larson's cornering telemetry, and every race engineer has replayed his onboard footage frame by frame. They all noticed the exact same anomaly at the very same corner, yet not a single one can fully explain or replicate it. A margin of 2 to 3 miles per hour is what separates Larson from the rest of the field on identical next-gen equipment, which on a road course is the entire difference between standing on the podium or dropping back to 4th place. Interestingly, it took Shane Van Gisbergen coming over from Australia and New Zealand to finally pinpoint what is actually going on. This is a complete breakdown of what SVG saw, what he told reporters, and what it means for every race Larson enters from here on out. To grasp why SVG was able to decode something the rest of the garage missed, you have to understand standard NASCAR cornering technique. Every Cup Series driver is taught a traditional 3-step sequence: apply the brakes in a straight line, turn in toward the apex, and roll back onto the throttle on exit. That is the universal standard formula, and that is what the mechanical engineers build every setup around. The modern next-gen cars are virtually identical by design, enforced by strict template rules. When one driver consistently finds extra speed that no one else can match, the question is never about the machine itself. It is entirely about the hands and feet operating inside the cockpit. On high banked ovals, the steep banking does half the turning work for the driver, but road courses offer no such assistance. They demand significantly longer braking zones, much tighter entry angles, and an immense amount of weight transfer through the chassis. Because of this, driver inputs matter far more at tracks like COTA or Sonoma than they ever will at Daytona. The thin line between a clean corner and a great one is measured in tiny tenths of a second. Throughout this season, Larson has consistently set the benchmark in road course qualifying. His entry speed into turn 1 consistently sits above the next closest car by a margin that telemetry software flags as an anomaly. The broadcast calls it pure aggression, while analysts call it natural talent. Larson himself shrugged it off, claiming he simply brakes later than everyone else. For months, that explanation was good enough because nobody had a reason to question it. At COTA earlier this year, timing data proved Larson was carrying significantly higher minimum cornering speed through every single apex compared to the field average. Across dozens of laps and 14 turns, those extra tenths compound into a massive advantage. 2 rival crew chiefs reportedly flagged this exact dataset, unable to determine how he was achieving it without scrubbing off speed. However, SVG realized the secret wasn't late braking at all, but rather a hidden action happening at the rear of the chassis that no camera had caught. The alleged technique is not a mechanical modification to the car itself. Nothing on the vehicle has been physically altered, no parts swapped, and no illegal sensors added. What Larson is reportedly doing happens entirely through subtle pedal modulation, specifically through the rear brake balance. During the first 0.3 of a second at turn-in, Larson allegedly shifts brake pressure toward the rear to generate artificial chassis rotation. The car pivots around its rear axle far faster than steering wheel angle alone should allow. Think of it like a figure skater pulling their arms inward mid-spin. The rotation speeds up without any extra force applied. In this case, Larson's rear brakes are doing the pulling. 3 engineers from separate teams examined the exact same telemetry trace, and all reached the exact same conclusion independently. The rear brake pressure curve did not match any conventional braking profile seen in 5 years of Cup Series data. One engineer reportedly stated that the trace looked like a dirt track driver catching a slide and controlling it with a rear brake pedal. The crucial difference was that Larson was on flat asphalt, and his input produced forward speed instead of scrubbing it off. The data made sense only if the rear brakes were being used actively as a steering instrument. Because NASCAR inspects hardware specifications rather than a driver's pedal timing sequence, the car easily passes tech inspection every time. Larson's unique technique occurs in a fleeting window of less than half a second per corner, repeated roughly 400 times over a race distance. It yields a dramatic cumulative speed advantage. While the telemetry raised eyebrows, it was a physical clue on the racetrack that prompted SVG to speak up. Having spent over a decade in Australian supercars where tire management and subtle chassis feedback are critical to survival, SVG instinctively knows how to read rubber wear patterns. Walking the grid after a qualifying session, SVG noticed the right rear tire on Larson's car displayed a distinct lateral smear across the tread rather than the standard linear scrub pattern. This specific type of diagonal, where indicates the rear brakes, are being used actively to steer the vehicle through the center of a turn. SVG reportedly crouched beside the tire for nearly 10 seconds, running his fingers along the smear. He then walked over to his own car to inspect his right rear tire for direct comparison. His tire showed the expected directional grain, clean, linear, and predictable. Returning to Larson's car, he saw the lateral mark ran nearly 4 inches across the tread face. That isn't a one-corner mistake. That is a specific driving technique executed lap after lap. SVG went back to his team hauler, pulled up onboard video footage, and watched Larson's corner entry 6 times in a row. The video evidence matched the rubber wear perfectly. When news of this discovery spread, 3 other Cup Series drivers attempted to replicate what Larson was doing during subsequent practice sessions. All 3 failed completely. One driver adjusted his brake bias rearward by 4%, entered the corner at Larson's speed, and modulated the pedal within that same window. The car did not rotate. It pushed wide, losing 0.2 of a second instead of gaining speed. The other drivers tried different entry angles and pressure curves, but the car refused to pivot cleanly. A crew chief compared the brake pressure trace side by side with Larson's telemetry. On paper, the inputs look almost identical in timing, pressure range, and duration. Yet, the car responded in a completely different manner. The crew chief told his driver that the difference wasn't the raw numbers, but in the physical feel. In the exact millisecond where pedal pressure transitions from slowing to rotation, Larson makes a microscopic adjustment with his ankle that telemetry sensors are not calibrated to record. Larson's background in dirt sprint cars and open-wheel racing gave him a heightened feel for rear axle rotation that traditional pavement drivers rarely develop. Dirt disciplines teach you to steer with the rear wheels, whereas pavement racing teaches you to trust the front end. The skill gap isn't about raw talent. It is about a decade of training in a completely different physical driving language. This is why the debate over fairness has become so intense. The equipment, rules, and technical inspection processes are identical, but the on-track results are drastically different. The rule book never banned this technique because it never anticipated it was physically possible in a stock car. During a post-race press conference, SVG directly addressed the tire wear patterns and explained how rear brake modulation was generating extra rotation. His straightforward analysis created immediate waves across the paddock, prompting rival teams to request formal telemetry reviews by NASCAR officials. While Hendrick Motorsports maintained that driving style does not violate any rulebook parameters, the garage remains split between those who view it as brilliant driving and those who consider it an unaddressed loophole. NASCAR now faces a unique dilemma, as the rulebook heavily regulates physical car components, but contains no provisions regarding the specific timing of pedal inputs. While penalties are unlikely given the absence of an explicit rule violation, officials may introduce targeted telemetry monitoring or technical directives for future road course events. In the end, NASCAR spent over a decade refining rules to make every single stock car on the grid mechanically identical. They succeeded in equalizing the hardware, but handed a massive cornering advantage to the one driver whose muscle memory already knew how to exploit it. Thank you so much for watching today's video. We truly appreciate your time and support, and thank you for being a part of NASCAR Report today.